I watched half of it this week. I was like, I need to watch it. So you're not a fan of Pride and Prejudice? No, did you watch the one with Keira Knightley or did you watch the old one with Colin Firth? Okay. I got you. We're chatting. If you're online, we're just chatting while we get settled here. Good job watching Pride and Prejudice, though. Very proud of you. You didn't like it, though? Ah. I just get goosebumps. Yeah. Have you guys seen Pride and Prejudice? No. Oh, Princess Bride's a great one. Yeah, that's like the best. I can. I love it. My favorite is what excellent boiled potatoes. Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, well, welcome everybody tonight. Is everybody enjoying the warm weather? Today, it's going to be hot. Our HVAC decided to stop working today. So we had a nice hot day at home. So, yeah, that's fun. I mean, at least it's now and not when it's like 80, 90 degrees outside. So I just opened all the windows and turned on all the fans. So, do you have a game for us this evening?
So I was going to have you all stand up, but the game I found is points. So does everybody have a paper? Has everybody got your own paper? Okay, all right, and pens. They're in the back if you don't. Okay, so these are points. So what we're gonna talk about what you have on your phone. What's on your phone? Does everybody have a phone? Everybody's got a cell phone, right? It's okay. You'll probably know the answers to these, whether or not you. Yeah,
nice. A flip phone.
You may be exempt, but we'll see.
Is it an honor system? Keep your own points?
Like yes, keep your own points. Let's see who has the most points. Okay, yeah, I was going to say. Yep.
Sorry.
Do it right there. Okay, all right. So you get 1 point for each one of these. You have a selfie on your phone. You've taken a selfie. It's 1 point.
You should get a point if you don't.
Denny, you know you got a selfie on there. At least one of them has to be a selfie, right? Okay, Instagram app. If you have an Instagram app.
It's the one that's like
I think it looks like a bird.
Little purple, pink, and yellow circle.
Oh, I thought it was a bird. I don't even know. I don't have that one. Password protected. Is your phone password protected? Mine is, because if not, I would be randomly calling people all day. It would not be good. Yes, if the pattern unlocks the phone. Okay, this is going to show some people right here. 30% or more battery life. 30% or more. I literally had mine at 5% and had to take it out and charge it at the check-in station the last 15 minutes because it was about to die. And that's how I roll every day. Facebook app. Who has Facebook app? Okay, and the last one for the 1 point, we're going to move up to 5 points. The last one is a ringtone is a song. Is your ringtone a song?
I feel like sometimes I need to interpret for you. Ringtone is a song.
I said song, didn't I? Yes. I don't think people do that anymore, though. Does anybody have a song?
I don't.
You do? Okay. I remember, like, recording them and, like, using that, right?
Used to be super popular.
Yeah. Okay. So here, we're moving up to 5 points.
Each one of those were 1 point.
Each one of those was 1. Now we're going to move up to 5 points. And then we've got I'm going to do one 10 point, one 20 point. Okay. A photo of your pet. If you have a photo of your pet, you get 5 points. I mean, I think it should be. If so, I'm winning this. I have too many pets. Okay, your alarm clock is on. It's on. Like you have it set and it wakes you up or it goes off if you use it as your alarm clock. Okay, this is the last 5 point question. You have the Pinterest app. I definitely do. And I pin all kind of stuff that I never, ever do. All right, 10 points. This is a 10-point question. If you have more than 150 contacts, do you have more than 150 contacts?
How do you see how many you have?
I don't know. I think just guess. Whether do you think you have more than 150?
If you go to the very, very bottom, it lists how many you have if you have an iPhone.
Okay, I
And
did not realize that.
More than 150?
Yes, more than 150 contacts. All right, and then we have one 20-point question. And this is, if you have your wedding date, anniversary date set in your calendar, you get 20 points. If your anniversary or wedding date, or I guess it could be like your first date or something. Yeah, it's got to be
on your phone.
Has to be on your phone. Is it set as a reminder on your phone 1 week in advance? You can do that, just so you know. All right, and then add up all your points and see who has the highest. You have 7. You were almost exempt. What'd you get, Bill? You missed 1 point.
You got everything else? Oh, so Bill probably won.
Yes, Bill, you have the Pinterest app? Yeah, he said yeah.
I believe it. There's lots of, like, guy stuff on there, too.
Sammy does have a Pinterest app. I'm telling on him. He's not in here, but he does have a
I don't
Pinterest
think
app.
Steve has the app. Every now and then he'll find something, like, on Pinterest.com or something.
Well, the reason I know this is because yesterday we were talking about DIY built-ins for like a TV entertainment center thing, and I pulled up. He was like, "Show me a picture." So I showed him the picture on Pinterest, and he was like, "That's so funny because I just started myself a new board for our remodel, and he had the same built-in like saved on his little board as I had."
You are meant to be.
That's what we were talking about. So
Meant to be.
yeah.
Can anyone beat Bill? He got everything except one of the one-pointers.
Okay, if you have more than 20 points, stand up. Or raise your hand. You can raise your hand. That's fine. Whatever you're more comfortable doing. Okay, if you got more than 40 points, keep your hand raised.
Ooh.
Okay. More than 50? You didn't have. You had 50?
More than 50?
19. Okay, Denny, what did you have? 49? 45. Okay, I think Denny won. I don't know what your prize is. You probably need to clean your phone out.
Yeah, clean out your phone.
Note to self, clean out your phone. Bill, how many points did you have? Do you know? Or you didn't? You just know you only missed the one. Okay. He got. Okay, so
total was.
yeah, so Bill would have won.
Bill probably
Bill
won.
would have beat us.
I agree. The person with the lowest number of points should have won.
Yes. Do what? What did you have? It should have been the lowest number. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering that too.
Yeah, I think that still counts.
I still counted it. Yeah.
7. That's cute.
Okay, tonight we are going to talk about our 2 new marriage secrets, romance secrets, number 9 and number 10. I am going to take the first one, which is number 9, which is True Love Serves. So I feel like the best way to kind of intro this one is with a video clip. So Bill, I'm going to have you play it in just a second after I explain where we're picking up the story at. Okay, raise your hand if you've seen Everybody Loves Raymond. Okay, most of the room. Yeah. So, great show. It's not on anymore. I don't know what years it was on, but hilarious show. I come from a big Italian family, so it was very much my family, so it was fun to watch, for us to watch. But tonight we are going to watch a clip of one of the most popular episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond, and it is called, I don't know what it's called, but it's the episode with the luggage, the suitcase. So some of you already know what I'm talking about. So we are picking it up here. There's a married couple. Their names are Ray and Deb. During this clip, you're also going to see Ray's dad, Frank. Ray and Deborah went on vacation, and they came back, and it was late at night. They were exhausted. They put the suitcase at the bottom of the stairs and went up and went to bed. And unbeknownst to each other, because they never talked about it, it was like a unspoken fight. Ray was waiting for Deborah to take the suitcase up the stairs, and Deborah was waiting for Ray to take it up, and Ray was waiting for Deborah to take it up. They both expected the other one and thought it was their responsibility to take the luggage up the stairs. And so we're picking up 3 weeks later when the luggage is still at the bottom of the stairs, and Ray is getting ready to go on a work trip for which he needs a suitcase. And so that's where we are going to pick this up. And Bill, once Frank leaves, I'll tell you when, but you can stop it. We're not going to do the full 6 minutes. We'll just do about 3. It's bad quality. It's like somebody recording their TV or something, but I couldn't find any better one.
Can you pack?
Yeah.
Watch it, boys. Watch the suitcase.
What? That suitcase has been sitting there for 3 weeks, and nobody wants to be the one to move it. I gotcha. But the thing is, I gotta pack now, so I'm gonna be the one who has to move the suitcase.
Why don't you take another suitcase?
No, can't leave that one sitting there. It'll be too obvious that I did it on purpose.
Oh, that's good. Deb should know how you feel. I'm a great believer in letting people know what's going on in here.
Yeah, and every other part of your body. You know, I don't want to get in a fight over a suitcase right before I have to go. I'll just do it.
Hey, listen to me. This is not about a suitcase. This is about who wears the pants in the family. Now, whose idea was to bring it in the first place? Hers, right?
Yeah, and then I was stuck lugging it around all weekend.
If you move that suitcase, you might as well put on a dress and change your name to Daisy Mae Tinklepants.
Ray, you gotta leave soon. Are you gonna get ready?
Yes. Yes, I am.
What was that about?
It's all right, Deb. You don't need to pretend with me. I know all about the suitcase.
What do you mean?
I know about your little Mexican standoff.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ah, forget about it. Hey, looks like Ray forgot to take the suitcase with him. You ought to bring it up.
He had 3 weeks.
Why did they build that thing? 3 weeks. At first I thought he was just clueless, but talked to you about it. He knew what he was doing.
Well, aren't you doing the same thing?
No, this is completely different. I have to do everything around this house. If I don't do it, it doesn't get done.
Well, that's because... Now, take it easy. That's how it's supposed to be.
it's supposed to be?
I said take it easy. Now look, Ray lugged the suitcase around all weekend. But it's in the house now, all full of laundry. And it's all womany now. So, you should move it. That's how it's supposed to be.
Okay, now let me tell you something. If I'm the one that has to do the laundry, why should I be the one to drag that thing upstairs, huh? Isn't the man supposed to carry stuff? Isn't that the manly thing to do? Isn't that how that's supposed to be?
Obviously, you spent a lot more time thinking about this than I have. All packed. See you later.
Okay, Bill, you can stop it there. I could keep watching it, but thanks, Bill. So if you couldn't get it, there's an argument going on, and they're arguing about the luggage. And Frank, the father-in-law, explains it's the womany. It's womany. It's the way it's supposed to be. So eventually in the episode, there is resolution, and it actually gets to the point where then they argue about who gets to take the luggage up, because Deborah says, well, I will take the luggage up, and I will be the bigger person. And then he's like, oh, no, you don't. And he goes and tries to take it up first. So, but maybe this is familiar to you. Maybe you have had situations in your marriage similar to this, or where there's something like this, that there's an argument or frustration about roles and responsibilities in the household. And that's what we're going to talk tonight about, is responsibilities in the household and how to create a win-win environment rather than an adversarial one, as you saw there. To start out, a couple of statistics. 70% of adults say sharing chores is an important aspect of marital success. Also, sharing household chores is the third highest issue associated with a successful marriage, according to surveyed couples. So the third highest issue associated with a successful marriage. But tonight, we're not really going to talk about who does what, and whose job is what, and who's supposed to do what. That's not really what we're going to be talking about tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking more about feeling unified in your responsibilities around the house, and just a breakdown of how it works best for your marriage in your household and what that looks like. So I thought I would start out by kind of talking about how I grew up, because I grew up in a household very much, at least my dad's side of the family, very much like that. And it was a very, what you would call like typical gender roles and responsibilities, right? Like dad took care of the car, dad took care of the outside stuff, dad took care of the finances, and mom did all of the housework. And that's just kind of like how we were raised and the expectation that we had growing up. But then I married Steve, and at first we kind of did that, and that was what things looked like probably for the first 7, 8, 9 years of our marriage. But then Steve became a firefighter, and that kind of changed everything for us. At the time he became a firefighter, I also got a job that was much more involved and stressful and just a lot of hours. And being a firefighter, he was off. He worked for 1 day, was off for 2. They just switched it, so now he's on for 2 days and off for 4. And we found that with these changes in kind of our lifestyle and what things were like around the house, and Steve being the more of the clean freak of the two of us, he just started kind of like picking up on things around the house and doing more, since he had 2 and now 4 days off at a time. He liked to do things around the house and vacuum and do the dishes and that sort of thing. And so that's kind of what our relationship has morphed into and what we've figured out works for us. I have my things that I still do, like laundry and all the cooking and stuff like that, but he does a lot more of the housework. And that was a very hard transition for me because I grew up in a household where it's the woman's job to do these things. And so I remember there was a lot of guilt that I was feeling about if I was being a good wife and mother because I wasn't doing all of these things that were in the household that I grew up in were the woman's job to do. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from and kind of my background. But Steve and I have had to figure out what works for us. And so tonight we're going to talk a lot about figuring out what works for you and your household and what that's like. Luke 11:17 says, "Any kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and a house divided against itself will fall." I know a little bit last week we talked about, or I mentioned during my discussion last week, resentment and how Dr. Gottman talks about how there's 4 horsemen of the marriage apocalypse, and one of them's resentment, the other one are criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. But resentment's a big one for the Gottman Institute. And I have found that household responsibilities is a main area where there can be resentment in a relationship if it goes unresolved. So tonight we're going to talk more about unity and what that looks like in terms of household responsibilities. Frank had a really good saying in his spiel, "I don't agree with the whole womany, and that's just how it's meant to be," and that kind of stuff. But he did say one thing that was really good. When he was talking to Ray, he said, "It's not about the suitcase." And that was very true, and that this wasn't really about the suitcase. This was about household responsibilities and this disagreement in who is supposed to be doing what and whose responsibility it was. In the chapter that we're on, the Smalleys talk about how there are feelings that come up when you're discussing household responsibilities in a marriage. And so he lists 4 feelings that people feel when they're talking about responsibilities. And I can say I know I have had several of these thoughts go through my mind. I'd be surprised if anyone here said they have never thought any of these things when it comes to household responsibilities. The first one is, it's not fair. And so he talks a lot about equal responsibility, and we're going to get more into that in a little bit, but making sure that you're working as a team and that you are both 100% responsible for the household responsibilities. And he also talks about how it must be discussed, household responsibilities. One of the 4 horsemen of the marriage apocalypse that I mentioned was stonewalling, which is not talking and walking away and refusing, kind of like they were doing there, refusing to address the issue that was going on. The second thing, first one was it's not fair. The second was it's not good enough. And that was very interesting for me, and we're going to talk more about this here in a minute, about preferences, right? And you want things cleaned a certain way, or you want laundry folded a certain way. And so having this feeling of, well, I have to do this because if Steve does it, it's not going to be good enough. I know the reason Steve does the dishes in our house is because he does not like the way that I do the dishes. And that is fine. We have figured that out, and so that is his role now. He doesn't do the laundry because I don't like the way that he does the laundry. And so we have figured out that those are roles that we take on gladly. The first one is it's not fair. Second one is it's not good enough. The third one is it's not my job. And this can be a big one in a marriage because it's not viewing responsibilities as 100% both of your responsibilities. It's saying that's her job, that's my job. We stick to our responsibilities. I'm not responsible for her stuff. She's not responsible for mine. That's that other person's job. And then the fourth one is it's never ending, which I know I have felt that once so many times as I'm doing laundry now, as the kids are getting older and going through more than one outfit a day. I know, like, Silas wore his school clothes, and then he changed and went for a run, and then he did his shower and got into his clothes for tonight, and now he's going to go home and put on his pajamas. So we have 3 or 4 outfits a day. So I know I have thought, and I'm sure most people who at least have done laundry have thought, this is never ending. and most chores are. But you have to have trust in each other that you're going to do your part. Silas and I were actually talking about this, not with chores the other day, but now that he's in middle school, there's lots of group projects that they have to do. And Silas gets very, very frustrated when he has to do a group project because other people don't pull their weight. And it's very frustrating for him. And so we've had a lot of learning experiences that will hopefully be useful when he gets into the work field someday. But you have to be able to trust that the other person is going to do their part. So how do we bring unity to household responsibilities? How do we make it a win-win situation where you are both winning, right? Where Deborah and Ray both could have won that situation rather than an adversarial situation. Francis Chan has a saying. He says, arguments escalate when we want to be right more than we want to be like Christ. I'll say that again. Arguments escalate when we want to be right more than we want to be like Christ. There's two key principles to resolving household responsibility disagreements and to making sure that it's a win-win situation for both of you. The first key principle is serving, and the second key principle is communicating. So we'll start with the first one, serving. This is about serving each other as Christ served us, as Christ serves the church, and giving sacrificially of ourselves to our spouse, to our family, to our children, to our household. Steve and I as a couple are both 100% responsible for the home, 100% responsible for the child care. We're both 100% responsible for the finances, and really viewing it as a team thing rather than the woman-y thing or the guy's thing to do, but viewing it more as this is something we do together, even though Steve might do the dishes, right? Like every now and then I'll jump in and I'll be like, can I drive for you? Can I help you out? Or like in October, when did I hurt myself? September, when I hurt my Achilles and I was on my cool little scooter. Not cool. But Steve helped me out with the laundry for a couple weeks while I was having that issue. So approaching it as a team, approaching it as we're working in this together and we're doing this together. George Eliot said, "What do we live for if it is not to make life less difficult for each other?" I don't think he was talking about marriage there, but I think that's particularly appropriate for marriage. What do we live for if it is not to make life less difficult for each other? I know one of the things Steve and I have, we started doing this a few years ago. We may have gotten it from One Extraordinary Marriage. I don't know where we got it from. I may have gotten it from a Smalley book. I'm not sure. We will text each other. We text a lot because of his work schedule and what things are like. But we'll text each other and we'll say, what can I do for you today? And a lot of times the answer is nothing, right? Especially if I'm home and Steve's asked me that. He's like, what can I do for you today? Like, you're at work. You don't need to do anything. We're fine. We got it here at home. And usually it's nothing. But the mere practice of asking that of one another puts your heart into the right place and puts your heart into a serving mode where you are asking your spouse how you can help them. It also makes the other person that you're asking feel loved and valued and appreciated that you're asking. In this, we talked a little bit last week when we were talking about intimacy and how really you could just focus on yourself, right? You can't change your spouse. It's not possible. You're focusing on yourself. And this is the same principle for when we're talking about household responsibilities. You can't change your spouse. You can make recommendations, obviously, but you can't change your spouse. They are going to do what they're going to do, and all you can focus on is yourself. So what can you do rather than focusing on your spouse and what they are not doing, which again is going to breed resentment? What can you do to serve your spouse? The second key principle that having a win-win situation in regard to household responsibilities, the second principle is communicating. And really a lot of it boils down to communication. Steve and I were talking about this earlier this week because I knew he wouldn't be here tonight. And I just kind of wanted to get his 2 cents on this chapter as well as we talked through it. And we were both in full agreement that really what a lot of household responsibility disagreements come down to is communication or the lack thereof. If you approach household responsibilities with a heart of serving your family, and you can have honest, open communication, then household responsibilities shouldn't be too much of an issue, or not one that's easily resolved at least. He talks in the book about laying aside gender roles. And again, this goes kind of back to what I was saying earlier, how that's what I grew up with, that there's gender roles, and this is the woman's task to do, this is the man's tasks to do. And in some households, I know that still works really, really well. But I know in some households, especially in today's day and age, where most households have two working parents rather than 50, 60 years ago where you primarily just had one working parent. In today's society, we have two working parents in most households, and so a lot of households, you have to have a redivision of household responsibilities because both individuals are working outside the home as well. So sometimes we need to lay aside those gender roles and not feel like we are stuck in that box if it's not working for us in our situation. Another key thing is to talk about your expectations and your preferences. So I talked a few minutes ago about preferences, right? I don't want Steve touching the laundry. I love my husband, but he's going to shrink something. He's going to, I don't know. I don't want him touching the laundry. I like the way it's done. I like the way it's done a lot. And he doesn't want me doing the dishes. He hates it when I do that. If I load the dishwasher, he will have to come back and reload the dishwasher because I loaded it incorrectly and put things in the wrong spot. So we have learned, and through talking and through communicating about it, that, hey, I do the laundry, you do the dishes, it works for us. Let's not mess with it if it works for us. Another way, this isn't really a household responsibility, but it's a good example. Another thing we've learned is when we're driving. Steve drives, I navigate. If we ever switch that up, anytime we have switched that up in our relationship, it does not go well. We just had it happen the other day where before we got in the car, he decided he was going to plug it into the GPS and not let me do that. I usually do that. He decided to do it. And so we were going to my grandma's memorial service, and we ended up not knowing that this church has 2 locations. And so we went to the wrong location. And so the other location wasn't far. We just had to hop back in the car. But we were joking around. We were like, see, this is what happens every time we don't stick to the way we know it works best. This happens. So there are preferences. You find what works well for you and your spouse as far as responsibilities. Another thing they talk about in the book is being aware of your clocks, being aware of one another's clocks. My husband is the type of person where since he cleans the kitchen and does the dishes, he needs all that done before he goes to bed. He wants to go to sleep with a clean kitchen, everything put away. He usually does more activity and chores and that kind of thing in the evening, where I'm the opposite. I want to wake up in the morning and get stuff done. When it's the end of the day and it's nighttime, I want to relax and I want to read and I want to get ready for bed. And so we have very different clocks in regard to that. And so we have to be respectful of each other's clocks. You know, I'm not going to expect him to wake up at 6 a.m. and want to start getting stuff done because I know that's not how he functions, that he does it more at night. Let's see. They also talked in the book about when it comes to communication, knowing what is your win, right? We're talking about a win-win situation. And so knowing what your win is. Basically, what's your priority when it comes to household responsibilities? He talks about he and his wife and how her win was when he could take initiative and do something around the house to help without coming to her and asking her. That frustrated her. When he would come to her and be like, what can I do to help? I want to help. What can I do to help? And that would make her frustrated. And she said, I want you to take initiative. Like, that is my win. That is what I need. That's what makes me feel like we're doing this together as a team. And he said, okay, I can do that. And then his win was he needs downtime in the evening to be together as a family. And so for his win, they needed to get the stuff done earlier so that they can have family time. So they identified what each of their wins were. What is going to make this work for us? What matters for us? And then they worked on incorporating both of their wins. Another thing he talked about when talking about communication was not complaining or nitpicking or nagging. And I'm not going to be sexist and say that one gender struggles with this more than the other, but it might be true that one gender struggles with this more than the other. But once you have figured out what works, once you have figured out Steve does the dishes, I do the laundry, you have to trust your spouse to do it, and you have to trust them to do it in their way, which might not be the way that you would do it. I know I had to learn this when we first adopted Silas, and we were entering into the child caring scene together. I had to learn really quickly, Steve has his own way of doing things. He has his own way of changing a diaper. He has his own way of doing this or doing that. And I have to not nitpick and nag at those, but I have to be comfortable with he can do it his way, and that's fine. It's not a right and wrong thing. It's a preference thing. And the last thing he talks about in communication is expressing gratitude and making it a practice to express gratitude to your spouse. Steve laughs at me when I do this because I'll be like, hey, babe, thanks for doing the dishes tonight. And I'll say, well, it's my job. Like, of course I'm going to do it. And I said, I know, but it's, I still like to tell you thank you for doing it. And it's kind of like at work, right? I do my responsibilities. I take care of my responsibilities at work. It's still nice to hear from your boss, hey, good job. You did a really good job on that. It makes you feel valued and appreciated. So I'd encourage you this week, express gratitude to your spouse when they do something. And honestly, this is the only way you can influence your spouse. You know how I was talking earlier about you can't control your spouse? They're going to do what they're going to do. Expressing appreciation to them is a great way to influence your spouse. If you are showing appreciation and thanking them, showing your gratitude, it's going to help them feel valued when they're doing those things and want to do them all the more. So again, the 2 keys to resolving conflict around household responsibilities are serving your spouse, having a servant heart and servant attitude, and going at it from that mindset, and then communicating with your spouse and talking about these things and what your priorities are. Remember that you are a team when both are 100% responsible for the household, and you have a win-win mentality. If one person on the team loses, they all lose. So that's my chapter.
Okay. Well, I was telling Maria before we started tonight. I said my chapter is on true love endures. So this is going to be the opposite spectrum of everyday chores and responsibilities to what happens in a crisis. And so I thought, oh, how are these 2 chapters going together? Which the book is not necessarily 2 chapters at a time, but I just thought, it is those everyday disagreements and troubles that really affect us more so than those times of crisis and big big life-changing things that we walk through. So I really thought I thought it was a good pairing. After I've been thinking about it as you were talking, it's a good pairing to talk about tonight. So my chapter is on true love endures. So we're going to talk about how do we walk through some of the bigger things the bigger catastrophes or crisis. And so, tonight we're going to be talking about couples versus everything and everybody else, all the things that come at us. Not us against one another, per se, but us against all of life and how life comes at us. He references many times in this chapter that we are in a warlike setting. And I really like that because, we're in a warlike setting. That's the earth. That's the fallen world that we all live in, right? There's things that come at us. So what do you do when crisis hits your home to protect your marriage? Does anybody have anything they want to share that you feel like you do during times of, really hard times? He threw out some suggestions. He was like, do you pull together and grow from the experience? We have some friends of ours that have went through a very traumatic loss of a child in their family, and Sammy and I were talking about it, and we were like, a lot of times in these situations, you have couples that pull together and they rely on one another, and then you have couples that they go on their own and they grieve their own way and they separate and they pull apart during that, and then it's really difficult or impossible to come back together at the end of that because they've shared that grief, personally, or with a counselor. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't share it with a counselor, but I'm saying they did it alone. They felt as though they did it alone in their marriage, and so we can fall apart, or we can grow from the experience. He talks about taking vacations. Like sometimes you're just like, oh, this is just too much. I'm ready to get away. I need to run away and take a vacation. And some couples, that's how they deal with things. He talks about this formula, okay, and this did not really appeal to me the way that he was referencing this, but I thought in somebody else's brain out there, this is really gonna speak to you. So I wrote it down. It's relationship friction plus insight leads to intimacy information. Okay, so I wrote down, because after reading this, I just thought, relationship friction. Okay, I can get that. Like, you got friction, you got trouble is in your relationship, plus insight. But I was like, what? Okay, exactly what is insight? Like, so I pulled up the definition. The definition of insight is a deep and often sudden understanding of a complex situation or problem, or the ability to have such an understanding. So it relates to intimacy. Intimacy plus healing communication equals a healthy marriage. And like I said, at first the formula to me was just a little too much. Like I didn't get it, but I thought somebody out there, maybe in YouTube world, will need to hear that, and that will speak to them. So conflict management can help you build intimacy. When you learn to deal with obstacles from this life, difficult times can be redeemed by God to often strengthen our marriages. So sometimes the things that we walk through, it is God walking us through difficult times to bring us back together. And that makes me just when I said that, made me think of the poem about, I only seen one set of footprints. And, he was like, well, why did you leave me alone? And he's like, I was carrying you, and so that relying on God is big. And, when those, especially like couples in different situations where they don't have God, I wonder, it's got to be that much harder to get through some of the stuff that this world throws at us. So it can strengthen our marriage as we go through crisis. So we're going to talk about, I just want y'all to make a mental list as I go through this. Make a mental list of the things that he names off, some of the crisis that we can go through. And I just want you all to think about, are these things that you have been through or things that are coming? The death of a loved one, a child with a disability, caring for elderly parents, infertility, moving, trouble with your in-laws, trouble with your finances, a spiritual attack, a miscarriage, natural disasters, job stress, infidelity, retirement, sexual difficulties, a loss of a job, physical or mental illness. If you've been through some of these things, if you've been through any of these things, then you are a veteran. You've been there, and you've gotten, now you're on the other side of it. And that's what I was telling Maria when I sat down. I said, our crises, all these big things that we walk through, and maybe this is just a me thing, but you kind of, I remember this lady saying to me years and years ago, she was like, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. The things that you are thinking are like the worst things, that this financial problem is just so bad, I don't know how we're ever going to get on the other side of it. And a month later, you're like, that wasn't that bad. It's kind of like once you get past that, you've come out on the other side, and you're still here, and you're still fighting together, and it just seems like a little blip in your past. So So strong couples, we're going to talk about some of the hallmarks. This is the hallmarks of strong couples that know how to endure and pull together and come out stronger. So I'm going to give you like all of his strong couples, his hallmarks, okay? So strong couples know crisis is the norm. Crisis is our norm. We all walk through stuff. And what I think is a crisis is a crisis today and not tomorrow. Or, you know, I tend to do that. We will talk about that a little bit later on. So strong couples stick it out. He talks about 2/3 of married couples that were unhappy and stick it out reported their marriages were happy 5 years later. Were happier 5 years later. 2/3 of married couples that were unhappy and who stuck it out reported their marriages were happier 5 years later. So he says we have to stop looking back. And that's what I was just talking about. Like once you get past that crisis, once you get out of it and you're on the other side, we can't keep looking he says you can't see where you're going if you're steadily looking in the rearview mirror. So if we're steadily like letting our past or the things that have happened to us hold us back, and I've talked to you all about that, about having struggles trusting God because of things that I had went through. You know, if I was steadily looking back on all the things that I had went through, then, you know, it's hard to look forward. It's hard to keep moving forward. Strong couples rebuild trust after a breach. This is our next strong couples. So trust has to be rebuilt every day. And I like that because like you hear like, oh, trust is like, you know, I trust you and then unless you give me a reason not to. You hear all these little cliches and stuff. But trust is something that has to be rebuilt every day. Somebody who's there and who's consistent, right? So be consistent. Strong couples recognize the enemy. Marriage is where the devil wants to tear apart our families. I mean, if the enemy can start in our homes and break apart our homes, then he can move through our communities, our world, our government. I mean, we're seeing it where we've had a breakdown of our homes and our marriages and what that's doing and how that's affecting everything, our children, everything. So we have to recognize the enemy and know that our struggle is against him. Our struggle is against the enemy because he is here to kill, steal, and destroy. And so marriage and love and families and commitment and monogamy, all of those things are something he just wants to tear apart. And we can see that just look and watch our TV shows. Just watch our TV shows. Read a book. Commercials even. I mean, you see just the lustful things and just terrible things that we see. Social media. I was just talking today to a lady about how social media has really just came in and just tore down our social interactions with other people. Like I feel like, 20 years ago, people didn't have a computer to hide behind, and you wouldn't have said some of the nasty things that people put out there on social media now, and how that's tore down relationships, marriages. I mean, just the things that we have to recognize the enemy, and that is very real in our lives. Strong couples trust God. He does care about our marriage. And I'm going to give you 4 scriptures. I'm not going to read them, but I want y'all to write these down if you have a pen and paper and you think about it. It's 1 Peter 5:7. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Psalms 46:1. And Romans 8:28. We need to meditate on these scriptures, and the author of this book suggests like making little cards and setting these around your house. So, and I've done that before to my kids, like I set it on the mirror and stuff, and just reminding them that God is here, He loves us, He is faithful, and we have to trust in Him. And his suggestion was to join a Bible study, join a group, join a life group. So if you're not currently, we do have them here at C3. We do have life groups, and you should join one and to learn more about God, and because if we know Him, then we can trust Him. If we know His character, we can trust Him, right? Strong couples pray. God promises to give wisdom if we ask, and that's James 1:5-6. So I really like I don't know where I seen this at. I feel like it was on social media somewhere, but they talked about the couples who pray together are the ones who really stay together. Like the percentage of couples who divorce, who pray every day together is so small. Because, I mean, you hear like, the statistic used to be, unreligious people and the percentage of divorce. But now the percentage of divorce, even within the church, it almost matches like the secular world. Like we're not really, so praying together and really investing in our faith is a good way for us to stay together. Okay, so strong couples keep hearts open. I really like this part. Like, this was my favorite part of this whole chapter. This really spoke to me. He says, culture tells us, I'm not in love with you anymore, so I'm out. I can leave, right? And he talks about how love is not the issue. We have an abundance of love from God. Love is not the issue, but it's keeping an open heart towards one another. That's our real issue. And he talks about that in Matthew. God talks about that in Matthew 19, verses 8. Our hearts get hard, and then we can't relate to our spouse. We stop listening. We stop liking, right? So keeping an open heart is a big deal. Strong couples guard their hearts from closing, which is kind of like the opposite of what I just read, but guard against apathy. We can all become complacent with where we are and just close our hearts off, especially when we get busy, when you have little kids and you have like busy jobs, and how we can just close our hearts and our minds off to our spouse. Strong couples follow a vision. So he talks a lot about shared passions. And this was a cute quote that he says in the book. He says, don't seal up holes in a rowboat when what you need is a sailboat. So don't spend your time trying to fix some vision that you had before that's just not pulling together. Like, find a new vision. Find something else that you can both be involved in. So and he talks about how God said, don't put, you put new wine in a new wineskin. You don't put it, in an old wineskin. It would bust it, right? So find new things. So strong couples fight negative beliefs. So this was another. I really like this. Stop making assumptions, because I've talked to you a little bit about this. Like, Sammy and I were riding down the road and we're both talking to one another, and the way he says something, I'm just like, oh, why are you being defensive? Like, why are you like getting snippy with me? And so I repeat back, and we talked about that before, right? Repeating back what I just heard. Okay, did I just hear you say this? And he's like, no, I didn't mean that in any way, But so stop jumping to the negative. Like, that's And okay, so this is a word that he uses in this. So catastrophizing. Really? Okay, because I had never heard that before. So you do not have to admit to being this, but everything could turn into a disaster. He talks about his wife and how they went to this pool, like this really beautiful like waterfall area on their honeymoon. And there's a big sign up that says no swimming, and he jumps in and he's like, come on, jump in with me. And she just stands there, and he's like, man, you're ruining everything. And this is like on their honeymoon, and she just takes and walks off. And he talks about how in her mind, like she was trying to save, him and herself from getting in trouble, or why is there no swimming signs? And so she's not as free-spirited as he is. She's more, she's more of a rule follower, and she doesn't want to be as free-spirited as him. So, but he talks about, like, if he had understood then what her mindset was, that she was just worried, and that she's, this is how her mind works, that he wouldn't have had those negative thoughts, that she just didn't want to hang out with him. Strong couples celebrate differences. And that leads us to this one, because A lot of times you do have that one that is like the rule follower. Who's the rule follower? Or as Dave Ramsey says, the nerd. Is there one in here that's like, I'm the nerd? I'm definitely the rule follower. And then most of the time, the rule follower or the nerd they're married to the spender, and yeah. Free spirit. Yes, and that's lovely. Yes. So who's the free spirit? There you go. See? Yeah, Sammy's definitely the free spirit. I am definitely not. I am more of the rule follower. But we have to celebrate. So strong couples celebrate our differences. So we accept our differences in order to have a happy marriage, except you won't like everything about your spouse. That's just part of marriage. There's going to be differences. And we're not all going to like the way someone does dishes. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, this is something that's just fun to watch, is like the differences between couples. And I know a lot of you that are parents, like, you pray for your kids, but you pray for your kids' spouses, right? That they're gonna have someday. And when I pray for Silas's spouse, I pray that she is as opposite as can be from him, because he is so like high anxiety. Everything has to be like one set way. Like, I hope she is a super free spirit because he needs something to like balance him out. I'm like, if he marries someone like him, I'm never gonna want to go into that household.
You're gonna be scared to like wear your shoes in there or something, right? Yeah, everything is white. I can see it now. Yes. So we have to celebrate our differences. And this goes back to what Maria was saying. Teamwork. We have to work together. So it's not a win and lose. This is not a win and lose. Marriage is never a win and lose. Because if one loses, then we lose. Because we're a team. We got to be in it together. So and then he talks like, if you think that things like your situation's not good, if you think that you're having marital problems, the grass is never greener on the other side. And I'll tell you what my mama told me when I was growing up: the grass is only greener over the septic tank. And if you don't get that reference, that's where the poop is. The grass is only greener over the septic tank. So the grass is never greener on the other side. So, I have all these problems with my spouse. I'll get out of this marriage. I'm going to go find another spouse. You're just going to have more problems, different problems, So, or the same problems. Yes, because most of the time it's us. Yes. Yes, there you go. There's a Donna quote there. Strong couples seek help. And I love this one too, because it says, don't do marriage alone. Don't do marriage alone. Find friends, and like Maria and Steve and Chris and Summer, and like we go to these conferences and we do all these things together and we live life together. And I know if any of us have trouble, then we all come together and we're on the same page. That I tell my friends all the time, like, you can have friends, secular friends, but those who you bring in close to you, the ones that you keep close to you, are the ones who love God and can speak that into you. So don't do marriage alone. There's counseling, there's books, there's seminars, there's all kind. I've told you that Sammy and I, we try to find something every year to go and do together, like some different study to do together, and not necessarily that we're always having trouble. It's just good to keep feeding that into us, like feeding the positive and how to make our marriage stronger. And so, yes, counseling. Strong couples reminisce. And I like this one. Strong couples reminisce. And this is a challenge that I have for each one of you that are in here. I want you to go home and I want you to rehearse. This was so cute. He says, what would you tell your grandchildren at 80 years old about your marriage? So I want you to go home and like rehearse. What would you say? What would you tell your grandchildren about your marriage? And I thought that was really interesting because, it's all going to be about how Sammy had dentures and they fell on the floor, make up something crazy, make up something crazy. So this was our marriage, right? So what was your marriage like? And she talks about how she went and visited like her aunt and uncle, and they talked for 6 hours, and she recorded them all about their marriage and things that they had done and places they had been and things they had seen. So go home and rehearse. Like what would your grandkids hear about your marriage? And last but not least, it's strong couples cultivate hope. And I had a little video, but I'll show it to you later, I'm sure. It was a clip from, and I'm sure all of you know. Has everybody in here seen God's Not Dead, right? Everybody's seen God's Not Dead. Do you remember the part where have you not seen it? Oh my goodness! See, I should have showed the clip, but we're running out of time, and we've got to sell it. We got a ceremony coming in here for the Royal Rangers and the Missionettes, but it's like a clip about the son goes to the mom, and he's like, you know, you have been like the best person, and I have not been the best person. I've been greedy, and I've not done right, and here you are, and she has dementia, and she's struggling in life, and he's like, and here you are, and here I am. I have everything I could have ever dreamed of. Do y'all remember this part? No? Oh, I should show the video. But anyway, she's just saying, can you show it really quick? It's only like 2 minutes, so I don't think we won't go over much. It's really good. Because I don't think I can explain it properly. I can't do it justice. So. Yeah, right? I know, right? Yes, and then I'm gonna fall short.
You're on with Mark.
It's me, Dork, your sister. You really should go see Mom. She's not doing well.
She hasn't been doing well for years. That's why they call it dementia.
You should go see her.
There, I gotta go. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I mean, it's not like you even know who I am. You prayed and believed your whole life. Never done anything wrong. And here you are. You're the nicest person I know. I am the meanest. You have dementia. My life is perfect. Explain that to me.
Sometimes the devil allows people to live a life free of trouble because he doesn't want them turning to God. Their sin is like a jail cell, except it's so nice and comfy, and there doesn't seem to be any need to leave. The door's wide open. Till one day, time runs out. The cell door slams shut. And suddenly, it's too late. Who did you say you were?
I love that. I love how like my I feel like my grandmother had dementia before she passed away, and like she could not tell us sometimes like who she was and all these things, but when she prayed, it was just so beautiful. And like she couldn't put together a lot of stuff, but she knew how to pray, and I'll always love that. But I love this scene right here because I just thought that's apathy, that we get trapped in that closed heart, and that's where the enemy finds us, with a closed heart. and we're steadily involved with ourselves. And so I really like what she said there, but I knew I couldn't do it justice. That's like my favorite clip from that whole movie, so I wanted you all to see that. But yes, so we go through crisis, but we can't be apathy. We can't have apathy. We can't be. We just have to rely on God and rely on one another. So, and that's all I have for my chapter. And I think we are about to.
We have a couple announcements to make real quick as we finish up. There's no church next Wednesday, just a reminder, because it's the district conference is next week. And then baptism. Baptism is going to be on Mother's Day. So if you're interested or you know anyone that's interested in being baptized, see Darren or one of the staff members here at church about being baptized. So I think we're going to have the Boys and Girls Club come up here and do their awards for their hard work.
Thank you. Now line up. Okay. Come down to me so I can hear you. Okay. Thank you. Gentlemen. Okay. Everybody look at me. Girls who have worked very hard, and I left my notes. Paola joined our club this last semester, August, September in there, and so did Reagan, about August, September of this last year. So they have worked hard in those months that we've been here, and all the girls in this last quarter have earned 7 badges. So, oh, Paola, you didn't say your memory verse, so I only had 6, but you'll say your memory verse to me. I forgot to have you say it tonight. Okay, so Paola has earned 6 club units, and she just has to say a memory verse on that one. And we give them points for coming to the club, attendance. They get 100 points for attendance, 100 points for their Bible, and 100 points for having their star manual here. And they have a drawer up there to keep their Bible and their star manual in. So that's an easy 200 points, okay? And then their sash we usually keep here too. And they get 100 points for wearing both their T-shirt and their sash as a uniform. Both their T-shirt and the sash is considered our uniform. So it's 100 points. So every night they have a possibility of 300 points. Every single night they attend, have their Bible, have their book, have their uniform, and then they get an extra 250 points every time we get a badge. The badges run about every 4 weeks. Sometimes we did the water baptism in 2 weeks. You know, sometimes we have one that'll be easy. Sometimes you feel like you're never going to get done with a badge, but we move on. So congratulations, Paola, 6 badges. Samantha graduated from Daisy Club, kindergarten girls, Prim Club, 1st and 2nd grade girls. So she has earned all those badges from Daisy's and Prim's, 3 years of study here, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And then she moved to Stars for 3rd grade. She's already earned 7 badges this year, and she gets to wear her honor Prim and honor Daisy badge. Reagan, she has earned 7 units. And I have to put in an order There's a couple of little badges that are missing from my little box, okay? There's thousands of badges all in order, and a couple of blocks are empty. So I'll get them sewed on you when we make another order. Joyce has been in our club for over 2 years, and she's making it a goal to be an honor star. So as you can see, she has, it's 9 a year is a minimum. So she's got 18, 19. Am I doing it right? And for a total of 27. So she just has, how many did we say? 3, 6, 7, 8. She has 8 more badges to earn, and her Bible reading, and she'll be an honor star. So this this semester, she's earned 7 badges. So she wants to stay in the club. She's not going to graduate to youth because she wants to stay and get those last little 7 badges, okay? All right, Nina. Nina has been in our club for 3 years. It takes 3 years to be earning all this. She has earned 32 total badges, a minimum of 27 to be an honor star. This semester she earned 7. Here, hold that. So, and then on their sash, I'll take it away from you. On their sash, they have when they learn their flags, and that's what Paola doesn't have that because she's needing to finish learning her flags and Bible salute and all that. That's flags, Bible salute, all our club memory work. When you earn 9, you get Tabitha. These are women in the Bible. Susanna, Tabitha. Earn another 9, Anna. Earn the last 9, it's Ruth. And then it's honor. Raise your hand. Okay. So, Nina also, she has a birthday tomorrow. And she's going to go ahead and go to the youth next week because she's done all of her classwork. And I need to rotate and start these girls over where she started, right, in my 3-year plan. So, and she's going to finish reading her Bible. And we already have her honor star crowning scheduled. So she's going to work really hard to get that finished. 7 new ones, 32 total. Congratulations. They're going to say their club pledge for you. Ready? Having accepted Jesus as my Savior in service, testimony, attitude, relationship. Things to glorify my Lord as the star. Okay, your motto.
I will follow Jesus.
That's on our t-shirts. I will follow Jesus is our motto. Okay, your Bible, your colors. Blue and white, which stand for Lord and purity. Okay, good. And all together slowly, some of you know it better. Okay, the memory verse. No, that's pledge. Teach. Teach, oh Lord, and walk in your truth.
Give me an undivided heart that I may fear your name.
Praise you with all my heart, and I'll glorify your name forever. Psalms 181, verse 11 and 12. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Lee, I don't know how you deal with this thing every Sunday, brother. It's wobbly. So I'm gonna remove my clipboard and go back here. It's a little safer. Good evening, everyone. Okay. this is the first time that this has happened before, but we have 3 young men that are earning their first awards in Royal Rangers. And so I do myself and parents a favor, and they get a notebook to keep at home so they don't lose anything. Now, if they lose it, then it's not my fault. Okay. We had one young man had a little bit of a fever tonight. Aram, I'm not great on names. Doso, Gratis, Duso. Okay, he had a little bit of a fever, and he just started out with us in January, and so he earned Bible badge number 1, and they break it up. They don't give them a certificate for every badge or for every lesson. This is a total of 8 lessons. Okay. So his mom's upstairs, so we'll get to her next door with the youth. We'll get that to her at the end. Okay. There were some handouts back on that back table back there. We had the list of certificate presentations. I don't have the college stuff on this side because that was just a blank that I printed out, but you get the date and all that stuff on the other side, on the blank side. And then I had a little bit, some announcements and some things that kind of paperwork kind of things that we do on a week-to-week basis. And we already talked about not having class next week. And then the bottom 3 things on the list are just a couple things I need to talk to the parents of these 2 guys about at the end. So we'll forward on with the presentations here. All right. Alec Goki has been with us since September. And so you can see on the list here, I'll just read from it. Bible number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's actually 32 lessons if my math is good. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, 32. He did insect study back in the fall, darts, and then we had kind of a snaggle in there, and I didn't. He wanted to do firecraft, but let the cold weather slip in on us, and it's kind of hard to do firecraft when it's dark outside. So we did a couple weeks of that, and I said, "Whoops, I goofed." And so then we did darts. And so that equaled on his vest, you can see if you move your hand, he's got his white falcon and his red falcon. And so all of those, okay, Sammy, all of those are in his notebook. Hold it in front of your chest. Okay, and Aiden Verquez joined us in right around our holiday party in December, and you can kind of see what looking at his awards, how they kind of stack up in the way Royal Rangers kind of works. He got the 1 Bible merit, he got darts, so that gave him his white falcon. Okay, so that's kind of how you get the patch on the front, is if you do 1 merit and 1 Bible merit. So for Aiden, here you go. All right. Short and sweet, right? Okay. I just need to see Aiden's parents and Alex's parents, and you all can fellowship your way on out or stay and hang out for prayer until midnight. I don't care. Whatever the pastor wants to do, it's up. Don't let me. Oh, time to go home. Sammy says time to go home. I'm not sure about that.